tuned in to Ready for Change. I am your host, Simone Albo. I'm so pleased to have with us this Miss Carmon as our expert guest, and we are talking about making moves, how I transformed my career. Welcome to the show, Regina.
Thank you. I'm so glad I could be part of it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so talk about you and about your work.
Well, I'm a single parent, and I work in the college savings industry in the financial services, and I'm Director of Marketing and Sales for the 529 College Savings Program out of the state of Arizona, Montana, and Indiana, and also nationwide. So I get to do a lot of great things for folks trying to save for their child to go to college, any type of higher education beyond high school.
Oh, wow, that's really different.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's different than, people really trying to scratch their heads and figure out that their kids to college. It's something that's concrete and something they can work toward and plan for.
Yes, it's definitely a niche industry or niche part of the financial services industry, and I truly, truly do enjoy it because it's giving folks an opportunity, especially in the low and moderate income class, to be able to save money, help them save money so that they can help send their child to some sort of higher education. So it could be a trade school, it could be a 2-year school, it could be a 4-year university, it could be for grad school, but the important thing is that, $1 saved is $1 that doesn't have to be borrowed with interest. So I definitely enjoy what we do.
Yeah, that is awesome. It's certainly changing the mindset of consumerism, and the
Exactly.
Just borrow, spend,
Exactly, and there was a study that was done that was conducted last year, and the study basically said that if a parent or if an adult would save $1 or more, have it saved and earmarked specifically for higher education, it increases the chances that the child, once they graduate, will actually go to college. And then the study further went to say that if a person saved $500 or more, if they just had $500 or more saved into an account earmarked for a child to go to college, that increases the chances that the child will not only go but complete it. So it's very important just to save, if anything, a little bit, even if you don't have the amount to save for the full college ride. It's good to save something, and that's what I'm fortunate enough to go around the country teaching people and showing people how they can do that.
Yeah, that is really awesome. So good. I'm really inspired by that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's transformational to me. That's a whole along the lines of transformation to me.
Definitely,
so I like the sound of
definitely a transformation, especially for I travel and I meet a lot of families from low and moderate income minority families, and a lot of folks just are trying to save for rent, let alone thinking so far ahead, thinking about higher education for their child. So, and to provide an opportunity that's practical, that they can actually start doing now, it's great to see the the mindset change, whereas they were once saying, I'm just trying to save to pay my electric bill next week, to them saying, oh, yeah, I can do that. I can save $25 a month. I can do that and put it towards my child's higher education. So that's definitely transformation, transforming the mindset in general.
Absolutely, because in this whole personal development, it's amazing to me what we think about perspective and mindset. Figure $500, for instance. And, so have no issue spending $500 on our hair, nails, makeover,
exactly.
shoes, a bag, and but when we say $500 toward transforming or thing or whatever, it seems impossible,
Right.
So
exactly. And that's what it's all about, being real practical about it. That's what it's all about, just being practical.
Exactly. So let's talk about your moves that you've made over the years and feeling stuck in a career. How did you recognize that you were feeling stuck?
Wow. What I've realized from my experiences, when I actually felt as though I was stuck in a position and I really needed to do something, I didn't know what at the time, but I knew I needed to make a choice or decision. But when I knew that I was stuck was when I wasn't growing anymore. I wasn't adding any more to the team or to the organization. I was not producing anymore. I was just pretty much stuck as far as, when folks say there's a glass ceiling and, you don't see the ceiling, but when you reach it because you can't go any further in it. And that's basically when I started to realize that, hey, a change needs to happen because basically right now I can't move left, right, or up. The only thing I can do at this point is go down. But there was no growth mentally, no growth intellectually, and that's when I definitely noticed that it was time for a change.
Wow. So what do you think causes career stagnancy? You talked about not being able to go left, right, up, or you're not contributing. What causes people to get career?
Well, for me, and I think for many, it's becoming complacent, really. You just get to a comfort zone, get to a comfortable place, a comfortable area, and you just become complacent. Whereas if you don't do any more, nothing's going to change. If you don't do anything less, nothing's going to change. And you pretty much are just in a role, going through the motions day in, day out, and you're not being challenged. So you just tend to just become, okay, this is it. I'm okay with this, if you are okay with it, and you just become complacent, and you, at that point, you're stagnant, and what I believe what happens after that is that your performance and how much you actually produce becomes stale. Nothing's fresh, nothing's new. Yeah. It just is,
Yeah, and you start to feel frustrated and angry, frustrated with the people around you, frustrated with the work.
Right.
And I think sometimes as we see people starting to fall, what we would say in the Bahamas, fall off, right? Where they perhaps starting to get absent or coming late. Sort of the negative behaviors that we see at work.
Right, and that's and I have a great example of that. There is a woman who I work with, and she became very familiar with the job. She was not challenged to perform any more better, and then it grew to a place where she felt as though she got frustrated. She got angry. She started to not come in on time. She started to come in late. She started to call out all of the time, just for any old reason, call out late or sick or anything like that. And then all of a sudden her performance started to deteriorate. She was not producing anything and making up a lot of excuses. That's the other part. Just excuse after excuse after excuse. And what I actually ended up telling her is that before you come to a place like that in any type of position, leave. I would suggest you make a change. You make a change, but don't let your performance and your character and what people know about you to be good to become something negative. Never let any role that you're in at any job make you change the type of good worker that you are. Just because you're in a rough spot, make a change at that point.
Exactly. And so, what do you think is that defining moment? Like you said, make that change, make that leap. How do you know when it's time to move on?
Right, and that's exact for me, and what I recognized in this young lady, it was exactly at the point where she saw herself underperforming. And for me, it's at the point before I feel as though I don't like coming to work anymore, because I actually do enjoy and love what I do, but if I wake up with a headache in the morning and you go into the office, and this is like a physical, real story, I would wake up in the morning feeling great. Soon as I started heading into the office, I would get a headache, and then I would have this annoying headache all day, and then as soon as 5 o'clock would hit and I would leave the office building and started heading home, my headache would go away. And that was just my body physically telling me it's time for a change. That's my body telling me that. And as far as on the job, it's when you start seeing your performance starting to go downhill. And before it can go too far downhill, you want to catch yourself and start making some changes. Or once the performance starts hitting rock bottom, the company will help you make that change, and you won't be ready for it.
Exactly. Before they make that change for you.
Yeah, they'll make it for you, and it won't be at your time range,
Exactly. And then it can turn sour, because I've realized that when you overstay, when you know that it's time to move and you need to start making that move and you overstay, then things start to go south.
Yeah, they quickly too, right?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I remember, my personal experience that happened to me, because I think I told you before this story about when I first started what I considered was my dream job at the time. It was like a management position, making really good salary, lots of perks and all this sort of thing. And as a part of my role, I hired someone to do an audit of the department.
Okay.
So she came in and she did the audit, and she's doing her interviews and her questionnaires and all this sort of thing. And she came back to me. I'm fresh on this job now. And she comes and she says, I don't see you being aligned here, and you need to plan your exit strategy. So here I am, just like fresh off probation, so excited. I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And, this is a dream job. I'm here forever. So I thought this woman was crazy. How could she see that? How could she even tell me that coming out of the gate? And sure enough, I had a 3-year contract. And after that 3 years, going into the 4th year, it started to get so bad. And it's like the support that I had before, I didn't have before. Everything was a struggle. Everything that I was trying to do wasn't supported. And it was starting to make me look bad. And, it's just more conflict and everything. It just got to the point where it came to a head. And I prayed and I said, God, you have to make a way for me to get out of here and to just do what I love best, because obviously this is struggle, and maybe it's time for me to go. And the day after I prayed that prayer, I kid you not, I ended up in a conversation with one of my bosses, and when I started to share something, he just looked at me and he said, you know, we want to talk to you about making some changes about your role. You know?
Nice.
Like, really? Nice. Really? And, he said, yeah, you know, we want to offer you a consultancy, and, you know, we know you're passionate about what you're doing in the community and all this other stuff, and we figure it'll be a win-win situation for all of us. And as a part of the Bahamian law, if you change someone's contract or the terms and conditions of their contract, essentially or substantially, you have to pay them out of the original contract and create a new contract. So what ended up happening was, not only did I enter into a new agreement with the company that really was me on my own as a consultant with them, so I was able to launch my consultancy and the things that I wanted to do. I ended up with seed money to help me do that because they had to pay me out of the old contract.
That's what I call a win-win.
So that was definitely a win-win.
Yeah.
And, you know, but to me, the lesson was I really should have listened to that consultant who told me from day one, from year one, plan your exit strategy and, you know, not to stay beyond the time that I was supposed to be there, because it didn't have to be that bad. And, you know, when we have faith, things end up well for our good anyway. But I didn't have to go through, you know, but I probably didn't have to go through the things that I went through getting to that point if I was more obedient to the timing of my next move.
Someone once told me, they said that, and it was a pastor, I think it was my pastor, and he said that what God has for you will be there for you. Now, we determine how soon, and sometimes we delay it, but what he has for us, it will, you know, every word spoken for him does not come back to him void. So it's going to be our blessing, but we sometimes can delay it, but he won't let the blessing just go without doing what it's supposed to do. It cannot return back to him.
Right. And thank goodness for that, because, you know, sometimes, like I always say, I'm one of God's hard-headed children. So I'm learning not to be so hard-headed.
That's all of us.
Oh, goodness. So how did you initiate your change? When you knew, I know it's time to move on, what were the next steps for you?
So for me, it was pretty much going back to what we were talking about. As soon as you know it's time to make that change, start making some moves then. And I actually set a quota for myself. I would say, okay, Regina, you're going to send your resume out to at least 10 different sources every day. However, I set a standard for myself. Because I did not want to find myself in the position that I was currently, I said, okay, I'm going to only apply to jobs that I really, really want. I'm not going to settle, because I need to do the things that are out there for me and what God has for me, and he would not want me to settle. So I made that my criteria for myself, and on top of that, I never for once went into the office and did not perform my job up to standard exceptionally. So I continued to do whatever it was that I was supposed to do at a high standard, but in addition to that, I was also job seeking and still networking and still doing the things I needed to do to continue progressing, even if I ended up staying at that particular job for longer, because as I learned today, somebody is always watching you. So I may have been miserable in that role that I was in, or I knew that I needed a change in that particular role, just like the opportunity that came for you when you thought you had your dream job and you said the prayer and someone within the organization came to you and said, hey, have you considered this? So for me, I needed to still stay on top of my A game, because that opportunity, that's also an opportunity, too. Someone could still come to me and say, hey, Regina, we've been watching you, and we want you to leave this group and come over to this group and help us do something different. And that would have been definitely a viable change as well. So that's why it's so important to keep performing at an exceptional level and not deteriorate in what you do, because somebody's always watching you. You never know who wants to refer you outside or inside. So those are the things I was doing, and you just never know which direction that opportunity is going to come from, but you have to be prepared and ready for it.
Absolutely. I remember Dr. Miles Monroe sharing that quote. I don't think he wrote it, but I remember him sharing it, and you hear it a lot these days. It's preparation plus opportunity equals success.
Exactly.
So you can't keep going on talking about opportunities and passing me by, whatever, if you're not constantly preparing yourself for what next. You can't sit on the job and complain and not perform and get on everybody's nerves and expect for, as you said, for the right people to see what you're about and the opportunity to open itself to you. Exactly.
And that has been my success over the past 10 years. That has been a truly tested point of success for me, because every single job I've had, it was strategic in positioning. I had one job that was excellent, and I was doing college savings. However, I just wanted to get more, to be compensated at a higher rate for the type of work I was doing. So I strategically took another job, and that job was paying me at the rate, but it just wasn't exactly what I wanted. It was something about it that I just knew that I needed to move on from that. I learned something from it. I definitely learned something from it, as I do in all my jobs, but I knew for a fact inside that strategically was a strategic move, but it wasn't where I was supposed to be planted. So then a year after that, and that's from still continuing to perform very well, networking within the industry, another opportunity opened up back in New Jersey, and which is where I am now. And the job it continues to evolve itself, and the change is happening within the organization itself. So it was a very, very good move, but I listened. I moved strategically. I didn't overstay at any particular places, especially when I started feeling myself becoming stagnant or not growing. And I continued to progress and continue to do well and not let my performance start deteriorating or becoming a negative vibe on the job, or being that person that people don't want to run into in the hallway, anything like that. So it definitely, it all comes together for sure.
Absolutely. And we're going to take a short commercial break and come right back to talk more with Regina Carmon on making moves, how I transformed my career. And one thing that I'm reminded of is when we think of the biblical story of the Israelites that moved from Egypt to the Promised Land, there was a point in that story where Egypt represented a place of deliverance and prosperity for them at one given point in time. Remember that they were in a place of famine in Canaan, which was their previous place of plenty. And so we have to recognize those seasons in our lives, that there will be seasons of flourishing and plenty. And when it is time to move, we must be very strategic and we must be very attuned to the signs that are directing us to that next move. We'll be right back after the short commercial break.
Hey, Chef Jovi here of the Eatsperience Radio Show. Join me 10 a.m. every Thursday to explore recipes, best restaurants, and food spots in and around the country. I look forward to receiving your comments, so follow us on Spreaker.com to tune into the show. That's SPREAKER.com. And search MWHY Radio to join me every Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Eatsperience Radio Show. And remember to share your Eatsperience.
The Queen Esther Radio Show is live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me, Jessica Taylor,
and me, Jason Mosley, to be entertained by authors, artists, and spiritual leaders.
We look forward to being a blessing in your life every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Only on the MWHY Radio Network.
Are you frustrated, disappointed, discouraged with your life? Are you angry with God? What's holding you back from fulfilling your purpose? Are you struggling as a leader in ministry? Do you believe you have an end-time calling? If you answered yes to any of these questions, tune in to The Waymakers on MWHY Radio Network every other Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are here to support you. Join us to get the answers that will prepare the way of the Lord in your life.
Hi, this is Capri Smith of the Uncuffed Radio Show. Join me every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to learn how you can grow in your business, personal environment, and reach your true potential by uncuffing what is binding you, only on the Maybe Help You Radio Network.
Welcome back to the show. You are tuned in to Ready for Change. We're talking tonight about making moves, how I transformed my career. And our expert guest tonight is Regina Carmon, and she is a marketing expert and certainly sharing lots of wisdom with us tonight on how to make those strategic moves in our career that keeps us moving forward and progressing and growing. Thanks so much again for being a part of the show, Regina.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And so I have a question about the challenges that you would have faced when you made your move. Because again, as this is all a process, transformation is a journey. And so sometimes, I think most times it starts in the mind where you have to recognize where you are and you have to make the emotional adjustments to making the move. You made the decision, you're settled with it, you've made the move, but it doesn't just happen, does it?
No, it doesn't. Definitely a lot of work, for sure, because a move in that sense, changing jobs or changing a career or just making a change in relocating, saying you just want to relocate, or maybe you want to make a change of your major in school. It does start, like you mentioned, in the mind. You have to have the right mindset to do it. But then also you have to actually have the fortitude, even the desire in your heart to even want to go through. Now, this is the way I used to always do something. Now I'm willing to throw that all away and do something completely different. A lot of folk don't like change. because of that, because change does require us to do something, and typically it's something that we weren't doing before. So a lot of people don't like to change because that they're so used to and comfortable doing things one way, and now they have to completely change the process or change the routine, and that becomes a challenge for some people. And I think that's the challenge there within itself.
Oh, yeah. Having to do something different, something that feels uncomfortable, something that's unsure, because we are creatures of habit and we are creatures of order and stability. As much as we may say not, we really crave that, the boundaries and order and structure and sameness,
Yes. Someone told me that children, babies or infants, toddlers, right, they expect a boundary. They will test how far they can go, but so it starts from early childhood. We grow up knowing about boundaries, and we have to operate within those parameters that are set before us. So with change, what that means is that now we have to set new and different boundaries, and sometimes just being able to set that, we just don't know how to do it because we're so used to doing things one way, and that definitely becomes a challenge. Also, another challenge is being able to just sit down and think about what that change is going to be. And a lot of times it requires us to look internally, really, really look at ourselves and figure out what is it that is causing this challenge in my life, and what is it, why am I not happy, and why do I need to make this change? And sometimes that's a place where most of us don't want to go. It's the uncomfortable part.
Yeah, I like to call it, I've heard before, that dark night of the soul, you just get to that place of no return, and you just feel overwhelmed, you feel totally alone and broken, and that is just really the greatest place that you can be as a person, as hard as it may feel, because all of those things are coming up for you to face them and to deal with them and to move on. And once you get to the other side of that, you are so much lighter and freer and better as a person.
Yes, there lies the reward. There lies the reward. Just getting past that.
Absolutely. And so what support did you have? Because I believe that in any change, support is necessary for us to maintain, get through the transitions that we have to make when we're changing. So what support did you have as you moved from to your next place?
So as you know, and as you've heard a lot of, oftentimes you can't tell everybody everything. So I only confided in the very, very few people, and those people that I confided into were people who really are optimistic people, because, you have to share something like that with people who are positive. They're realistic people who can say, okay, this is a great thing that you want to do, but make sure you think about this, that, and the other. So they were also encouraging me, but encouraging me not to just, hey, go jump off that roof, but also encouraging me to say, okay, do you have all of the safety things in place for making this change? So I did have a couple of very few good friends that I could confide in. I had a mentor that I would just bounce the ideas off of, my mentor at the time. And then, of course, having the support of your family. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a single parent, and so I would talk things through with my daughter. And I know it's weird because, she's younger, but just to be able to talk through, and that's sometimes that's all we need, is just to be able to talk through the process with someone, just talk it through out loud, and the logic and the logic and the process just seems to come together. It makes more sense when you talk it through.
Absolutely. I agree. And sometimes, like you said, just saying it out loud and getting another person, a trusted person's perspective, because sometimes we think we have it all figured out, but they see something that maybe you overlooked or didn't even think about it in a way.
Exactly. Definitely. So it does take, just how they say, it takes a village to raise a child. I also think you need a good support system of a very diverse group of people, like a mentor, like a family friend, like a close friend, to help you even throughout this thing we call life.
Yes, absolutely. I found that to be true in my life, honestly. It's really true. So I want to talk about now your personal transformation and that whole thing of self-discovery. What has to change in you that translates into changes in your career and self-actualization and all the things that we want to accomplish in life? That begins, I believe, in a personal transformation. And so how did that happen for you?
So for me, it was, I got to a place in life where I was just unhappy. I was unhappy, uncertain, confused about a few things. I was just overall coming to that place of depression. And that's when I realized that something really needed to change. And so for me, that's when it truly did occur. I would go through the motions, I would smile sometimes and things like that, but people who really know me know that I love to smile, I love to laugh, but at some point they also noticed that there was a different me. There was a change. I wasn't laughing as much, I wasn't smiling as much, because what they didn't know is that when I would go home, I would just sit and just be so unhappy, just in general, unhappy about everything. I couldn't think of one area where I could say I was completely 100% content and happy. So for me, that's where all of the self-introspective thinking began, and I really had to figure out, okay, Regina, we need to make some changes or X, Y, and Z is going to happen. And basically X, Y, and Z are all those negative things that happen when people are depressed. They start thinking suicidal. They start feeling as though they are inadequate. They start feeling as though they have nothing more to give, in life to society. And I knew that wasn't me. I knew that I hadn't accomplished all that God had for me to accomplish. And I knew I'm so full of life, and I just needed a way to express it all and to get it out and just get out of that area where I was just feeling like I was in a rut. And that at that point, and it was a low point, that's when I needed to make the change. And I started first by with education. So I went back to school, and I got my degree, finally got my degree in my area of expertise, and stopped trying to say, I want to do this, I want to be that. I got my degree in an area that I was actually good at, which is marketing. And so I finally did that, and then from that point on, I started praying, seeking God in everything, and I can honestly say that from that point on, every move that I made thereafter was a good strategic move, and that's when things started coming together. And then at one point, and at some point, I guess I could say too, positive change just started happening, and it wasn't even something that I was hoping for. It was just things that God just saw, okay, now you're ready for this particular area. You've passed the challenges here that's preparing you for where you're going to, and the other changes by default just started happening and falling into place for me.
You're tuned into Ready for Change. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back to conclude our show.
Hello, I'm Sherelle of Fit and Flow Yoga Radio. Wake up with me every Friday at 6 a.m. and have a wonderful yoga experience. We'll explore meditation and discuss how various yoga postures can help relieve your everyday stress. We'll also make the connection between our faith and wellness. Follow us on Spreaker.com to tune into the show. That's Spreaker, SPREAKER.com. And also search MWHY Radio to join me every Friday at 6 a.m. for Fit and Flow Yoga Radio with Sherelle. And until next time, surrender to your strength and always embrace your flow.
If you're the parent of a child with behavioral challenges that has been suspended, expelled, or just not able to make it in a traditional school setting, there is an alternative. Call the Metropolitan Day School today. Licensed and accredited grades K through 12. Call 804-321-2595. Financial assistance and after-school programs are available. Let's turn this school year around right now at the Metropolitan Day School, where Eagles soar. Call Ms. Thomas today. 804-321-2595.
This is Tanya Free. March Madness is upon us again, and so is the compensation for student athletes. The NCAA basketball tournament is expected to generate $1 billion in revenue this year. The 5 most powerful and wealthiest conferences in college sports, the Big Ten, Big 12, ACC, Pac-12, and Southeastern Conference, recently passed NCAA legislation that increased the value of an athlete's scholarship to cover the federally determined actual cost of attendance. The exact value of cost of attendance will vary from school to school. Stipends have been estimated at $2,000 to $4,000 annually. How do you feel about the cost of attendance stipends and overall compensation for student athletes? How do you think smaller conferences and HBCU sports programs will be affected?
The Tanya Free and Friends Talk Show, your destination for the best in social and political straight talk. Wednesdays at 2 p.m., streaming live on TanyaFree.com and BlackTalkRadioNetwork.com. Join the conversation Wednesdays at 2 p.m.
Welcome back. In this concluding segment, we are talking with Regina Carmon. And what has changed about you that has sparked changes in your career?
Oh, wow. Changes that about myself personally. I actually started to trust myself a little bit more, because I think before I could start making the change in my career, I was doubting my ability, doubting my creativity, doubting what people actually saw in me. I didn't see what they were seeing in me. So I never really I'm not the type of person that would pat myself on my own back. But I had to first start believing in myself and believing in what I can do and believing in what I know. And that's and at that point, that helped with my self-esteem. It helped me become more, more vocal with what I knew that I knew, and that's what helped me even more so in my career, just being able to now speak out, whereas I didn't think I had a voice, but I actually did have a voice, and I had good thoughts and great ideas, and so just becoming more confident within myself and my own abilities and capabilities, I was able to then start speaking out a little bit more and sharing my ideas, which were actually good ideas, and that's when a lot of things started changing for me, and opportunities really started coming before me to be part of, and also not being afraid to walk through those doors of opportunity. You know, sometimes fear will keep us from progressing.
Absolutely. That is so powerful, and I was smiling listening to you talk, because I think I've gone through the same transformation in me, and see it start to manifest in ways that of things that you wanted all along and things that were probably there all along, but
right.
It's because that you can't see it, or you're afraid to just step out and to be yourself and to be the person that other people already see.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so powerful. And
but I think also those type changes that happen where other people see things within you before you see it within yourself, I think those are also the lasting changes. There's no coming back from those type changes because it wasn't something that, you go around pouting and beating your own chest over. This is something that other people saw within you, and now you can walk into it. And for me, I think that's even more lasting.
Absolutely. And it even changes your mindset about it. You talked about, having great ideas and having the voice and the confidence to express those ideas. And as your self-esteem increases and your confidence increases, then how you deal with what is called rejection changes. Because before you would at rejection of your idea as rejection of you. And you'd say, well, I'm not good enough, or, oh, gosh, I'll never make it, and I'm never going to say my idea because this or that. But now you recognize that, even though an idea may come from you, just because it's not accepted doesn't mean that it wasn't a great idea or that you're not a great person.
Right, exactly. And there was one thing that a professor in college said to me that has stuck with me all these years, and I actually say it on the job today to the people that report into me. When I'm telling them something that's not favorable, I tell them first thing, and this is what the professor said. He would say, Regina, here's your grade. Don't take it personally, take it professionally. And I used to wonder why he would say that to us. Don't take it personally, take it professionally. And years later, as I started working and developing within a career, it became so clear, so crystal clear what he meant. Don't take anything personally, take it professionally, because when you take it professionally, you start to find different ways to do things even better. When you take it personally, then your emotions get involved and you start doubting yourself, so things like that start happening and creeping into your spirit and all like that. But when you do it professionally, you start reacting to it in a professional manner. You say, okay, I need to pick up these skills. I need to take this class. I need to go to this workshop. I need to read this blog, read this book, that type thing.
Exactly. That is. I wish I was listening to this show at least over 20 years ago.
You and me too.
So what advice would you give someone to ignite their passion and make progress in their career? As we wrap up, advice that you give to someone to see progress in their career, to move from this place of being to this place of growth and flourishing?
Sure. I would give the advice to just recognize it. Don't ignore it. Recognize it for what it is, and don't treat it like how we do something, sweep it underneath the carpet and say, oh, I'll deal with that later. But recognize it, face it, deal with it, and then last but certainly not least, as Nike, the slogan from Nike is, just do it. Just start taking steps towards it. And just do it doesn't mean you have to do everything at one time. My mom would say, what's the best way of eating an elephant? One bite at a time. So you start taking steps towards reaching your goal, but you actually have to start taking the steps. And that would be my advice.
Wow, that is so good, so rich, and I'm so honored that you were able to join us on Ready for Change, and I know it's not going to be the last time.
I hope not.
Yeah, because I definitely would like to talk with you more for our listeners who may be looking at that personal branding for their career success. I know you look at marketing from a totally different perspective in your work, but how we can market ourselves better to promote who we are and what we're about wherever we find ourselves, whether that's on the job or in church or in our communities, what it is that we're projecting and presenting to the public. So I hope that you will join us again.
Thank you. I would love to be part of that conversation because, as you mentioned, there are definitely, although I market one specific area, marketing, and the reason why I love marketing is that it applies, the same principles apply in multiple areas. So I would be glad to join you on another opportunity to speak about how do we self-brand ourselves.
Absolutely. So we thank you again, and we look forward to the next time. We will take a commercial break and come right back to wrap up Ready for Change.
To all of my female entrepreneurs, it's time to expand your region and business profits. Are you networking in the same locale and viewing the same guest list over and over? Do you find your colleagues are referring new business and its clients that you already have in your portfolio? Are you industry stagnant? And are your social groups and events filled with the same people? If you answer yes to just one of these questions, it's time to expand internationally. You are cordially invited to petition for attendance to an all-female exclusive and private event featuring the Power of 52 Women, the East Coast International Business Symposium, hosted by rockstar entrepreneur and international business consultant Erica A. Murray and multimedia distributor and expert Letitia M., and moderator Ms. Joan Henry of the Women's Entrepreneur Expo, beginning February 28, 2015 in Baltimore, Maryland, March 28th in New York, April 18th in Washington, D.C., May the 23rd in Atlanta, Georgia, June the 20th in Boston, Massachusetts, and September, Africa. If you are serious about your business, don't miss this event. Go to www.thepowerof52women.com for more information. Once again, go to www.thepowerof52women.com and register today. This is an event you don't want to miss.
Hi, my name is Letitia M., owner of May We Help You Network. I want to thank you for joining us and enjoying our host here on MWHY Radio Network. Please visit us online at mwhyradio.com and like us on facebook.com/MWHY Radio. Tune in to learn more about our hosts and upcoming contests and our TV programming that will be coming to you soon. MWHY Radio, bringing together business, community, and youth.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Ready for Change. This is a show where we don't just talk change, we live change. Tune in next time on the May We Help You Network and on Spreaker.com for another exciting, transformative, informative, life-changing, and inspiring show. I'm your host, Simone Elbow. Tune in next time on Ready for Change. Are you ready for change?